I say to you who are willing to hear, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on the cheek, offer the other one as well. If someone takes your coat, don't withhold your shirt either. Give to everyone who asks, and don't demand your things back from those who take them. Treat people in the same way that you want them to treat you. If you love those who love you, why should you be commended? Even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, why should you be commended? Even sinners do that. If you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, why should you be commended? Even sinners lend to sinners expecting to be paid back in full. Instead, love your enemies, do good, and lend expecting nothing in return. If you do, you will have a great reward. You will be acting the way children of the Most High act, for He is kind to ungrateful and wicked people. Be compassionate, just as your Father is compassionate. Don't judge, and you won't be judged. Don't condemn, and you won't be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good portion, packed down, firmly shaken, and overflowing, will fall into your lap. The portion you give will determine the portion you receive in return. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Please be seated. Do not judge a book by its cover. Growing up, I was frequently told this, but I'm not so sure how accurate this is. I mean, take Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, for instance. All of us, I think, can pretty well judge by its cover what to expect on the inside. I mean, there may be an article on the increasing spin rate of professional baseball curveballs, but come on. It's all about the models and swimsuits or lack thereof. I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. This is from Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. It is, do not judge a book by its cover, except it is a person, not a book, and the cover is one's skin. Lately, a few of our politicians have stumbled over this advice. Don't judge a book by its cover, and don't judge a person by the color of his skin. How come? Back in the 1950s in Fullerton, there was a man by the name of Leo Fender. Leo was the founder and inventor of the first solid-body electric guitar and electric amplifiers. Everybody from Muddy Waters to Dick Dale and Del Tones to Keith Richards played Fender guitars. Leo was an introspective, quiet man who had a glass eye due to a childhood accident. He was a genius when it came to amplified electronic music. He could build, fix, improve anything. Just about everybody has heard of Fender guitars or seen its iconic logo on the headstock of these famous guitars. And yet hardly anyone, even some of his employees at the Fender Electric Music Company, recognized Leo Fender. You see, Leo was this unassuming guy who wore khaki work clothes with a proverbial pen protector in the top left pocket of his shirt. A lot of big shot executives and rock stars, and as I said, his own workers, in seeing him around the factory, mistook him for the maintenance guy. This all goes to prove that you just can't judge a book by its cover, or a person by the clothes they wear. You just never know when you may meet a genius or angels unaware. The point of King's words about the content of one's character, or the aphorism about not judging a book by its cover, and that is that we need to dig deeper than that which is on the surface. We need to get more information. Don't be impulsive. Think about decisions. Don't rush to judgment. And we all know this. For instance, do not, under any circumstances, on a day off with your family, a spouse, or a friend, and looking for something fun to do not go out and check out puppies. If you've ever done this, then you know what a disaster this is. Yes, puppies are cute, they live their puppy breath. They're snuggly, they're lovable. I warn you, if you do this, I guarantee you will go home with one of those puppies, especially if you bring your kids. And then, 10 months later, after your couch has been chewed up, and your dog is still really not house trained, and while you're at work, the dog, no longer a cute, cuddly puppy, but a dog, howls all day long to the annoyance of the neighbors, I guarantee you will say to yourself, what was I thinking when I bought that dog? Warning, don't make impulsive, rash judgments. Think through your judgments. Get as much information as you can prior to judgment. Well, you know, despite King's words and every English literature teacher I've ever had, a fellow by the name of Malcolm Gladwell some years ago wrote a bestseller entitled Blink. Gladwell's theme was just the opposite of the belief in getting as much information about a person as you can prior to making any judgments about the person. Gladwell's thesis is that in all cases, knowing a very specific, small amount about someone, even within seconds of meeting someone for the first time, enables an observer to more accurately predict or conclude truths about that person or thing. Gladwell argues that a researcher does not need copious notes and tests to predict or to conclude accurately. He then offers the example of a famous researcher who has honed his skills so well that he's able to eavesdrop on a couple sitting near him in a restaurant and predict with great accuracy whether the couple's relationship will last. Gladwell's theory suggests that often the less we know about a subject, the more we will listen to our intuition. He believes we need to trust and develop our intuitions more. So what are we supposed to do? Judge quickly, instinctively, or judge slowly with rational thought? Well, the answer is, don't judge at all. Luke 6:37. Jesus tells us this morning, and he tells his disciples, don't judge and you won't be judged. Well, let me tell you, this isn't going to happen. We humans, we live, we die by our judgments. Let me take, for instance, this morning alone, I had to judge which strawberries from my yogurt had gone bad. And as I crossed my lawn, there were new gopher mounds the size of Kilimanjaro. Despite the fact that the pest control company has been out for the last 2 weeks and told me all was fine, is the pest control company incompetent? Or do I have a Caddyshack situation on my hands? And then as I turned the key in my truck, I noticed my gas tank was near empty. Do I have to get it? Is that enough to get me to church? Do I have to stop and put in some gas? What am I going to do about that? And what about my new ophthalmologist? He calls me Buddy. How you doing, buddy? He sure doesn't spend. He's saying that he never spends very much time with me at all. Should I trust him? What about real news? Fake news? Who speaks truthful news? It snowed and hailed in the valley a few days ago. Is this a warning or just a fun, quirky experience? Don't judge. What does Jesus mean when he tells us not to judge? Assessing situations in everyday life involve judgment. Don't get into a car with strangers, I was told as a youngster. Invest in this fledgling company called Nike, this friend of mine once told me. Yeah, right, what do you know? I thought. You're still living at home with your parents. What do you know? Some years ago, along with a few other clergy from our diocese, I visited El Salvador. And while traveling through the city one day, the driver of our van had pulled over to the side of the road in San Salvador, the capital, to await the arrival of some people we were to meet. It was hot and it was stuffy in the van, so the 5 of us, men and women, got off the bus, got off the van and just wait outside on a busy sidewalk. And as we stood there just looking around, taking some photos, we smiled at people, passing by, generally friendly. It was then when a middle-aged woman dressed in sort of everyday El Salvadoran type of clothes approached me and told me in Spanish that we needed to get back into the van because it wasn't safe to be standing there. And she said people around here will kill someone for $35. We all quickly retreated to the safety of the van. Here we were, 5 white North Americans standing on a street corner in one of the most violent cities in the world. It was obvious we were wealthier and had more resources than those around us. And if I were honest, the air quality was pretty bad in the city. And the people looked impoverished, the city appears impoverished. Poor housing, graffiti everywhere. It looks like a poor country in turmoil, which it is. And yet, despite this, we American clergy were all trying to do exactly as Jesus said. Don't judge others lest ye be judged. And yet here was this woman who came up to us and basically told us to judge. Judge your surroundings. Use your head. And use your instincts as Gladwell recommends. It doesn't matter what Scripture may say that don't judge. But I'll tell you, Jesus came up to me in the street in the form of an indigenous woman to tell me to stop being a fool. Use wise judgment to get back on that van. We read Jesus' words. We don't bother to understand the meaning. I stood on that street corner in San Salvador amid my own guilt and blind compassion. I was telling myself, don't judge these people. That's unfair. Let down your defenses because it's racist or elitist to be on guard. Be accepting and loving. But this is a result of blind compassion. Blind compassion is an imitation of compassion. Blind compassion is an exaggeratedly tolerant, confrontation-phobic, undiscriminated attempt at caring. When we're driven by blind compassion, we cut everyone far too much slack, making excuses for others' behavior and making nice in situations that require a forceful no, an unmistakable voicing of displeasure, or firm setting and maintaining of boundaries. This is not kindness rooted in courage, but rather a kindness rooted in fear. Not just fear of confrontation, but also the fear of not coming across as a good spiritual person. When we are engaged in blind compassion, we rarely show any anger. For we not only believe that compassion has to be gentle, but we also are frightened of upsetting anyone, especially to the point of their confronting us. We become harmony junkies. Blind compassion confuses anger with aggression, forcefulness with violence, judgment with condemnation, care with exaggerated tolerance, and moral maturity with spiritual correctness. Those of us who practice blind compassion generally spiritualize our misguided tolerance and aversion to confrontation, confusing being loving with putting up with whatever anyone does and never judging them, no matter what. In addition, when we encounter or hear about offensive behavior in others, we usually take pains not only to be non-judgmental, or at least not to say or do anything that could be construed as judgmental, but also not to examine how their reaction might reflect their own shortcomings. That is, if what you want or doing is upsetting to me, then it's my job is not to focus on your behavior, but only to investigate what my being bothered says about me. Perhaps even appreciating the opportunity that you are giving me the opportunity to examine myself. This is far from compassion. and not doing what we can to bring people face to face with the consequences of their actions, we are actually depriving them of something that they may sorely need. Furthermore, in letting them off the hook, we're doing the same for ourselves. This is confusing being loving with putting up with whatever anyone does and never judging them, no matter what. Unfortunately, our efforts to do good only backfire. In a hurry to forgive, we skip the process that leads to authentic forgiveness, and that is feeling hurt and is expressing our needs and perhaps navigating conflict. We confuse forgiveness with condoning. We try in the name of acceptance to pardon those who've hurt us before their behavior has been examined and felt at any real depth. Jesus is not telling us to forego judging others in situations. We misunderstand this phrase in our gospel text for today. We judge all the time in life. It's inherent in our beings. And it's not a negative attribute. My mind, your mind, everyone's mind will keep churning up judgments because that is the mind's nature. What really matters is how we handle our judgments. This morning, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he's talking to people who are victims. He just told them that God is a loving, forgiving, and non-condemning God. And we like this, especially when it's meant for us. We don't like it when someone has really hurt us, and we're told to love our enemies, or people who we just don't like, or crackheads, or pedophiles, or liars, or anyone who is of a different political or social persuasion than ourselves. Listen to what Jesus says. He says, "But I say to you, who are willing to hear, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. Treat people the same way that you want to be treated." God behaves with favor towards persons whose lifestyle does not merit such favor. We are to relate to those persons with this same graciousness. Do not judge others. Hits us right where it really hurts. Hits us in that place where we don't want God to accept those persons who have injured us, even though God has shown them mercy and us forgiveness. He calls us to do the same. Merciless, ungracious, revengeful judgment stemming from the hurt someone has inflicted upon us or society is the judgment Jesus is telling us not to impose. It's a judgment that many in society believe is deserved. Standing on a street corner in a city known for violence and trying to be non-judgmental, that's just foolish. Not forgiving a friend who hurt me and who had apologized several years ago, that is sinful. The judgment Jesus is talking about is the decision we make to hurt others who have hurt us. We judge such people as beyond love, beyond mercy, and beyond not only our acceptance, but God's acceptance also. And that, says Jesus, is not up to you to judge. Don't judge a book by its cover. They're wise words. Keep them in mind the next time you pick up the Bible